Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahawashi, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash, and I want to say Shalom, Yakin Akwath out there pursuing this truth diligently. Coming at you once again with another lesson. This is the fifth, Lord willing, edition of America is in a state of societal decline. All right, America is in a state of societal decline. And preemptive warning, it should be fine. I think I got all of the kinks worked out of it. I made some changes with my audio setup. You shouldn't be able to hear anything. It should sound just normal. But in short, I just added a noise gate. I used to have one running, I believe, and I don't know. At some point it got turned off for one reason or another. I think I might have turned it off because at one point it might have been my limiter, not my noise gate, but it was limiting like consonants, and it was making my instead of something, it would say something, or shalom would be halawam, and it would just be cutting off s's and t's, almost like a de-esser plugin. But it's meant to limit background noise. All right, and I'm sure it won't cut through dog barking, because that's really high pitched, but it should. I noticed in the videos that when I was playing news clips, it was kind of doing like a hallway effect, right? It was kind of doubling it up because it was picking it up through my mic, because of course my mic's in front of the stereo system. I don't use headphones because I fucking hate them. But it should be fixed, Lord willing. Just I wanted to put that out there, a little update. If anything sounds weird, please let me know, and I'll get on that. I'll just disable it or try to tweak it or something like that. But as far as the testing I did so far, it seems to be good. So Lord willing, it works. Just a little update there. So hopefully that'll make the listening experience a little bit better, because nobody wants to hear all a bunch of background shit going on when you're trying to focus on what's being said. So Lord willing, it works. All right. So again, all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahawashi, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Let's get right into it. So, as you know, we've touched on, 4 so far, all right, being the fifth lesson. I've been able to do, one topic per lesson. This one might be 2 or so topics per lesson, because these are the shorter ones. I did add an extra scripture into one of them. But so far, we've gone through institutions losing their legitimacy. And of course, this ties in with number 3 and 8, and we already got number 3, economic decay masked by financial and political tricks. So that, with economic decay being masked by financial and political tricks, that's a part of institutions eventually losing their legitimacy, because people are going to see through them, and they're going to realize this is a bunch of cloak and dagger, this is a bunch of bullshit, right? And that's going to make them lose their legitimacy. So at times it ties in with Numbers 3, not Numbers 3, but number 3. Numbers 3 is, of course, dealing with a chapter in the Bible, but number 3 is in number 3, economic decay and masked by financial political tricks. And number 8 we haven't got to yet, but that's laws stop being applied evenly. And when laws stop being applied evenly, of course, that goes back into them not being able to trust them. All right, them speaking smoothly, but really there's this deceit, all right, behind. There's as it says, they were like, let's go and get it. I can't remember exactly how to pronounce it. Just as a scripture, they were drawn swords. All right, but inwardly they were drawn swords. Here it is. So Psalms 55 and 21, it says, "The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords." Of course, the scripture is always better than roughly paraphrasing. Roughly paraphrasing is good, but I always like to get it. Because I'm never quite sure how close I got. Even if I got 75% accuracy, I'd rather have that 100%. So, going down today, all right, what number 5 we're going to be talking about, probably 5 and 6. We already really touched on 7. We might jump up, we loosely touched on 7 because cultural fragmentation goes back to 2, political paralysis and infighting. All right, the infighting goes back to cultural fragmentation. These people are Edomites fighting against Edomites now. They're losing their mind. They're losing their shit. All right, for lack of a better word. But yeah, military stretched thin or politicized is what we're dealing with today. So, as it is that ChatGPT gave us this list when I asked if America began to fall like Rome, what would be the signs in a modern society? Number 5 was military stretched thin or politicized, and the description it gave was Rome's army went from citizen soldiers to mercenaries loyal to generals, not the state. Modern version would be endless foreign commitments, recruitment problems, eternal division, or the military becoming a political pawn. And the best way this is going, and I mean, it's been like this for quite some time, but really what should be categorized into this is, because it is a militant force, would be the Immigration's Customs Enforcement, all right, ICE, also known as ICE, okay, the Border Patrol, all that. It's not necessarily something that's loyal to the United States of America, okay? It's something that's become loyal to one tyrannical dictator, all right, Donald Trump, and it's proof. I mean, you can prove that it's not really anything that's really sanctioned in any type of way. What their real classification is kind of all over the place. They're not really federal, like FBI. They're not really CIA. They're not really police. They're not National Guard. They're not really military. They're kind of just this group of mercenaries, right? That's really what they are. They become mercenaries. All right, and that's what it says. Rome's army went from citizen soldiers to mercenaries. Now, in order to understand what a mercenary is, we got to define it. Now, so a mercenary. Now, the modern version, all right, and this is not really what it is, but it says a mercenary is a professional soldier hired to serve in a foreign army. And yes and no, that's what we know about it in a modern sense. We see volunteer, conscript, but really these are more like, like here we go, a hireling. All right, they're militant for pay. All right, and you can say, well, the military is militant for pay. Mercenary is quite different. All right, and I want to get a better definition. Right here, this is good. Mercenary, one that serves merely for wages. Okay, merely for wages. Okay, you got a lot of people that go into the military because they want to serve their country. Mercenaries more, they want the money. Okay, and any type of morale or morals, not just morale, but morals or customs, they're all out. All right, because you're there for pay. If they tell you to, a military is more structured. All right, they're more like, oh, we don't attack certain allegedly, right? They're simply almost really likened to mercenaries anyway, because as long as they're getting orders, they'll do it, and then they'll try to use the Nuremberg defense. But look at the top lookups currently: racism, fascism, right? Look at that. But anyway, really, because the what I want to say, the how do I want to call it? Not the morale, not the morals. The I mean, I guess you could say the moral system has been thrown out in the military for quite some time. I mean, even you can go back even to Vietnam, and before that, look into how they were just killing people that weren't even necessarily part of the war. They could go, civilians, just killing them, raping them, burning down villages just for the sake of burning down villages, right? Doing those things. Their morals were already shot. They're already gone to hell. So, the military has been fucked for quite some time, but that's a topic with, a lesson within a lesson. They're just serving and using the Nuremberg defense. Oh, we're given these orders. Well, you should be able to know if something was right or wrong. Okay? You should be able to know if something was right or wrong. If you're over there, you said, oh, we're gonna protect, all right, the democracy, all right, and the sanctity of the United States of America, and you go over there and you're stealing oil and shooting people down and taking gold bars, you should know, hey, wait a minute, maybe we're not over here for the reason we think we're over here, right? So really, America's military is just a group of mercenaries, but they think they're doing something, all right, but they're, at the end of the day, they'll do anything for their pay, all right, because a real soldier, all right, would be like, no, this is wrong. Okay, this is wrong. But they bred soldiers into essentially mercenaries that are like, well, you're going to shoot that elderly lady, all right in her face, and you're going to do it because, one, we're going to pay you for it, and if you don't, we're going to shoot you in the face. That's not a military. That's like a... That's something far more sinister. I don't know what I would necessarily define it as, but it's not a military, all right? So, mercenary, it says, serving merely for pay or sordid advantage. And really, that's what they want, sordid advantage. Greedy, okay? Greedy, his motives for choosing a career were purely mercenary. They're a mercenary couple who define themselves not by what they were, but by what they owned. You know, they give you some more examples. It's from Latin mercenarius. All right, actually, wages. Actually, that's a good thing. We can go to the etymology and get mercenary. What does it say here? All right. Mercenary, one who works only for hire, one who has no higher motive to work than love of gain. Mercenary, hireling. Mercenarius, one who does anything for pay, literally hired or paid. And really, pay, wages awarded. And that's really like, that's really what our military is just a group of mercenaries. I'd go to far as say is that maybe ICE isn't so, not really right to be lumped in with mercenary, because it's not just the pay. All right, they do have a higher motive, and their motive is hate. All right, you can go and get that. It's Esau's hatred. All right. What's the word? What's the word? Bear with me. Perpetual. Perpetual. I was thinking eternal. I was like, no, it's not. It's not eternal. Perpetual. Okay. And we'll go. I really want to start from 1, because I mean, it really shows you who's being talked to in this case. It says, Ezekiel 35:1, more so the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir and prophesy against it. Now, Mount Seir. Okay, now would the Lord tell you to set your face against a mountain? All right, and say, oh, this mountain is so bad. This horrible mountain. The rocks, and I hate the color of the rocks. You know, this is Mount Seir. I hate the color of the rocks and the formations of it. I hate it. No, that wouldn't make any sense. All right, he's talking about the people there. Now, who were there? You can see it says Mount Seir is a significant mountainous region in the Bible, located east of the Araba Valley, from the Dead Sea down to the Gulf of Aqaba, primarily associated with the land of Edom and the descendants of Esau, who are known as the Edomites or Idumeans. Okay, so he's talking about the Edomites and the Idumeans. Okay, and he's saying to prophesy against them. If you're prophesying against someone, what does that mean? Talk about the wicked and their evils, and you know how evil these people are. And this is a commandment, really, and that's why we do these things, showing you, basically showing the devil's ass, right? Putting his dirty laundry out on a hook and hanging it out there for all to see. Because, and really, we do it, but he's also doing a pretty good job of him doing it himself as well, because the Lord is, sending those arrows back on him, all right? Hide me from the single counsel of the wicked who bend their bows, all right? And to secretly shoot at the perfect, roughly paraphrasing, of course, and that's their, wicked actions that they want to, whether it be homosexuality or, rap music, or doing all this different things to send out there and cause wickedness to happen to a people. Lord shoots that back at them, and they get revealed. So in all of this demonization of Jake, they're showing their ass. They're really showing what type of people they are at a core. They're a hate-filled, evil people that really can't get their shit together, and they're sloppy. All right, they're sloppy. Now, mind you, these people are base men. We can go and get that scripture. All right, base men. Children of fool, they were base men. Okay, and this means they're the lowest of the low. Okay, there's actually another scripture I want to get. Low amongst the heathen. All right. So first of all, Job 30:8, it says they were children of fools. Okay. Now you can go and see who it's talking about right here. You see they were, well, does it mention Esau verbatim? It doesn't necessarily mention them verbatim, but by listening and who it's talking about, you can clearly tell. We can start from verse 5, and this is what happened to Esau. Job 30:5, they were driven forth from among men. They cried after them as after a thief, because Esau was literally driven out of society to become a bushman, because they're Esau, right? They're uncivilized, unkempt, all right, beastmen, all right, a bunch of snow monkeys. A bunch of snow. I was watching this, I watch this guy from time to time. He's an Edomite, but his name's Carpetbagger. The Carpetbagger. He goes and travels across the world. And he went to this zoo. And I guess, I've never heard of this animal, but Japanese macaw, I guess they're also called snow monkeys. because I guess they live in the snow. But me and my wife were watching the video because that's one of we like watching his videos, and when he said it, snow monkey, we kind of just chuckled and I laughed, and I said, that sounds like a slur. All right, and I think she mentioned something about that's basically what Esau is a snow monkey. So that's kind of like an inside joke with us now, and look how red they are too. They're just like Esau, fucking snow monkeys. All right, so but yeah, they're driven out of society. The woodwoos. All right, the beast man. All right. So I mean, you think about all these things. These now people try to say, oh, Esau is the Sasquatch. Esau ain't no Sasquatch, but Sasquatch, and I'm not saying Sasquatch couldn't exist. I don't think it's likely. All right, now we know about Leviathan and certain creatures that the Lord has, but sure, we've seen things like the Chupacabra, and a lot of people say, oh, the Chupacabra's fake. I mean, how unreasonable is it for a dog-like creature that just drinks blood? I mean, that's not that unreasonable. We have mosquitoes, they drink blood. All right, we have vampire bats, they drink blood, so it's not that unreasonable. And they've seen little animals, and they look similar to dogs, but the Chupacabra probably exists, right? So that shows you we don't know what creatures are actually out there, but Sasquatch and the Yeti, that just seems those are humanoid. Those are based off the humans. Those don't really seem like something that could exist, right? So, but they have I do think they were based on Esau, though. I do think they were based on Esau, right? Because you got the where was it? Out in the East Coast, they have that thing. It's called a skunk ape. It smells like shit, and it walks around and it's hairy. That sounds like Esau to me, right? So, but Job 30:5 says but the reason I say there's no Sasquatch like that, because you have a small group of individuals out there that try to say, oh, well, Jacob and Esau is not the white man. Esau is actually Bigfoot, and that's what he's driven. He's out there in the woods somewhere. We don't really know. He's red and he's hairy. No, that's not it. All right, that's not it. Job 30:5, because they were called the border of wickedness, and it's also said that in the end days, the wicked, the earth was given in the hand of the wicked. All right, they were called the border of wickedness. It shows you that they're wicked. The earth is given in the hand of the wicked, and then it goes on to show you, and who is the wicked? Esau, Edom. The wicked is Esau, Edom. And you have wicked Jakes that are sometimes referred to as the wicked, but you got to look at context. But the wicked, when it says the wicked, that's referring to Esau, Edom, all right, the so-called white man. Doesn't always look white, all right? He can look like all nations, just like Jake can look like all nations, but 99% of the time, he is a leprous-looking individual, just like Jake is a melanated individual with tight, curly, kinky hair, right? 99 times out of 10. You still can't forget that 1%, all right? You still can't forget that 10th part, all right? 9 out of 10, well, there's still that one part. You can't forget that one part. That one part of Esau or Jacob is going to look like anyone. They could look like Asians or Arabs or anybody, all right? You could have Esau that looks like Jake, and Jake that looks like Esau, right? So you can't always go off of skin color. It's ethnic based, all right, through genealogy and ancestry, all right, not by doing blood tests. It's based off of through your ancestors. If you understand this truth, and you can call upon the name Yahweh Shem Yahushai, you can get it. If you can truly call upon the name of the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushai and repent in that name, then you'd have to be a Jake. All right, you'd have to be an Israelite. Esau is not going to do that. They're not. They're too proud, and they're not a godly man. All right, mind you. So, anyway, we're getting off track. But anyway, so Esau was driven amongst men. Let's get back on. We can keep on explaining and doing lessons within lessons. But let's get back on topic with Job 30:5. But anyway, so the earth was given in the hand of the wicked, and Jacob is the beginning of the fall, and Esau is the end of the world. So if that was the case, then that means Sasquatch would be in rulership right now, and he's not. Anyway, end of that topic. Back on to Job 30:5. It says they were driven forth from among men. This is probably one of the scriptures people say he was driven forth among men. He was, he's a cave beast. No, he is a cave beast, but he is pseudo-civilized now, right? What is pseudo-civilized? What pseudo-civilized? What does pseudo-civilized mean? Okay. It says, pseudo-civilized describes something or someone appearing civilized, culture, or advanced, but lacking genuine depth, ethics, or true understanding, often mimicking the outward signs of civilization while holding primitive, irrational, self-serving views. There you go. So, Esau is pseudo-civilized, right? Pseudo-civilized, all right? They're a pseudo-civilized people, okay? So Job 30 and 5, they were driven from among men. Why? Because they're not civilized. They cried after them as after a thief. I believe it was Job. He wouldn't even suffer them to sleep with the flocks of his dogs. Why? Because Esau is so disgusting, they'd probably be sleeping with the dogs. All right, sexually. All right, and every time you see anything on the news that says, oh, you know, this Instagram model or so-and-so found doing sexual acts with a dog, it's usually Esau, and it's usually Edomite women, mind you. So that shows you how it's the men, it's the men. The women are sick too. The women are sick too. Okay? Job 30 and 6, and I would go and prove it, but I don't want, you know, woman slept, you know, or a person sleeping, sexual acts with dogs in my search history. Particularly, I don't particularly want that. You know what? I will do it in incognito, though. Okay. Woman, guilty, sex act, dog. Alright, images. Look at that. Whole bunch of white women. Look at that. Edomites. All Edomites. Here's a local one. Las Vegas woman Brenna Montgomery admits to sexually abusing her dog. Mississippi woman sentenced to prison for unnatural intercourse with a dog. Taylor woman charged with performing sex acts on a dog. What is this one? Ohio woman pleads not guilty for recorded sex acts with a dog. Woman jailed for filming rough sex. That's a horrible pun. With canine companions. Toronto. That's in Toronto. All right. Look at all these. It's all white women. All right, animal abuse. Richland, a woman initially charged with having sex with the dogs pleaded guilty to a lesser charge. It's Esau. All right, it's Esau. And in all these, if you kept scrolling, you might see one Jake. All right, you might see one or two Jakes, maybe, but I don't even see one or two. I see pretty much all Edomites. Okay, all Edomite women. Okay, and they're just sick. They're just sick. So you know, because this woman right here, she's not a bad-looking woman. All right, she's not hideous looking. Some of these women are hideous looking, but some of these women are just like this woman. She's just, she's plain. She's kind of disgusting, but some of these videos, you know, there's a guy out there that would hit it, right? There's a guy out there that would hit it. So that just shows you they just want to have sex with animals, all right? And which is why let's go and get that scripture. All right, Job 30 and 1, it says, but now that they are younger than I have me in derision. But now they that are younger than I have me in derision, whose fathers I would have disdained to have set with the dogs of my flock. Why? So the dogs probably be getting slept with, and he doesn't want that for his dogs. I wouldn't want that for my dogs either. I don't even have dogs, and I wouldn't want that happen to my dogs. All right? But anyway, where were we? Right here, back in Job 30 and verse 6, it says, let's go up from 5. So they were driven from amongst men, all right, in verse 6, to dwell in the cliffs of the valleys, in caves of the earth, and in the rocks, okay? Of course, it's talking about, you know, places like Petra, right? And eventually, you know, the Caucasus Mountains, which is how they got the name Caucasian, all right? That's why they don't use the term Caucasian anymore. Have you ever thought, or not have you ever thought, have you come to the conclusion, or have you seen lately that Caucasian isn't a term anymore? Remember when it was a term? It's not the term anymore. It used to be like on government paperwork. It wouldn't just say white. It would say like white/Caucasian. Caucasian's gone away. Why? Because they don't want to be related to the Caucasus Mountains anymore. All right. So Job 30 and 6, to dwell in the cliffs of the valleys, in caves of the earth, and in the rocks, among the bushes they brayed. What is braying? Do you know what braying is? That's like what the sound of a donkey makes.
Bray.
All right, the loud, harsh cry of a donkey or mule. So they're a beast man. All right, all right, they're doing that and probably on all fours. All right, under the nettles they gathered together. They're under nettles. What are nettles? All right, you know, it's a big bush. So they're under nettles, going hee-haw. This is beast man. All right, they were driven from among society. All right. So it says they were children of fools, yea, children of base men. They were viler than the earth. So they were viler than the earth. They were disgusting, vile. Okay, vile is something that invokes hatred and disgust. Okay?
Vile.
Extremely unpleasant, morally bad, wicked, foul. Okay? Horrid. Okay? Archaic, of little worth or value. Okay, now mind you, they're a whipping stick. That's essentially all Esau is a whipping stick. They're the belt. Esau is the belt. Think of them as that. They're the belt for Jacob. All right, because we went off Esau as the belt. Okay, and they've been put into their position of power by the Lord. Okay, and just like he put them into power, he's gonna. Well, that's not a very good snap, but he's gonna take them right out of power. Right. So, yeah, man. So they're base men. Now, what is it? What is a base man? What is base men? Base man. Here. No, get out of here. They're not going with the archaic definition of what a base man is. All right. In archaic or early modern English, a base man refers to a person of low birth, low social rank, or ignoble character, which is the opposite of noble. All right. They're ignoble. They're low. Okay. Low-born, a man without noble lineage or social standing, often contrasted with gentleman or nobleman. So it's the opposite of a gentleman. It's a non-gentleman. It's a savage beast. Right? Morally contemptible, someone seen as dishonorable, cowardly, treacherous, or servile. All right, what is servile? Servile. All right, of or the characteristics of a slave. Okay. So, a lackey, one who acts dishonorably for gain. That's Esau. Esau, all right? It says, common in Shakespeare, King James Bible era, and medieval early modern literature. Frequently used as an insult. There you go. In Shakespeare and King Lear, he said, away thou base man. Shakespeare, oh thou base and most unnatural man. There you go. There you go, man. So that's what they were called, all right? They're viler than the earth. Disgusting. Contemptible. Nasty. Vile. You wouldn't want these people around you. Right? Why would you want these people around you? Right? Let's see. Then, of course, Obadiah 1:1, it says, the vision of Obadiah, thus saith the Lord Yahweh concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from the Lord, an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised. So Esau is small amongst the heathen. They're the lowest of the low. They're lowborn, disgusting, vile, and just ugh, right? And think about the Moabites, all right, the so-called Chinese, and think about the Elam, all right, the Elam, all right, not Edom, all right, Elam, the East Asians, all right, the as they call them, the Indians, all right, Indian people, not the Native Americans, but the Indian, all right, the Asian Indians. Think about how they live, and then realize that Esau is lower than that. That really puts things into perspective. It says, behold, I have made thee small among the heathen, thou art greatly despised. Now, we're going to go into 3 to prove, again, that the scripture we just got about, dealing with driven amongst, in the clefts of the rock. Same thing here. It didn't word it as clefts of the rock. What was the actual wording? Let me find it. Right here. Job 30:6, to dwell in the clefts of the valleys and caves of the earth and in the rocks. Now, mind you, it says, and you can also see right here, it says, Job 30:4, who cut up mallows by the bushes and juniper roots for their meat. So they're eating berries and roots, a lot of juniper. All right, and juniper's good. I like juniper. Juniper's nice, but that's all Esau had, right? But going back, you can see talks about the same thing here. Now, it doesn't, one more time to show you, it doesn't mention Esau, but you can tell who it's talking about by, dwelling in cliffs and valleys and caves. All right, you can get that in Obadiah 1:3. It says, the pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, Obadiah 1:3. Thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? And even another furthermore to show you a little hint at who Esau is. Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle. Rome used the eagle. Greece used the eagle. America currently uses the eagle. A lot of these, pretty much all these Idumean or Edomite, Esau lands have used the eagle, because that's their representative. All right, the eagle. All right, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord. You know, they're like cats, all right, but not as cool as cats, because cats are cool as shit. But they're, cats always try to find the highest place to be. That's how Esau is. They want to look down on people, so they'll try to, like, if you ever look at their mansions, they're always overlooking a valley, or they're on the cliffs. All right, they don't put mansions anywhere. They got to be up in the hills, right, to show you that's their habitation high, right? So anyway, talking about Esau, we kind of went off the topic of 5, but Rome's army went from citizen soldiers to mercenaries, and that's really what's happened to ICE. All right, they're essentially mercenaries, but not mercenaries just for pay. It's really their hate. All right, their hate. And we got to finish up with here, showing you Mount Seir, getting all that. You go back into Ezekiel 35:2. It says, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir, of course, the Edomites, and prophesy against it. And say unto it, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, Behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee, and I will stretch out my hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate. Mind you, all these scriptures talking about laying Esau for waste, okay? Because that's what the Lord's going to do. Verse 4, but Lord and his people have to have their get back first. And what's the get back? It's, not us, revenging, all right? The Lord's going to put it into place. So it's not us revenging ourselves. Our Lord's going to allow us to get our get back through a rightful way, the rightful way. There's a right way and a wrong way to do things, and he's going to subject Esau into captivity, because they got to work it off, man. All right, it talks about that. I shall give you the heathen, and I shall give you the heathen for thou. How's it worded? Thine inheritance. That's how it's worded. Psalms 2:8. It says, Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. So we're going to have all these different places to dwell. Of course, not Babylon, because it's going to be completely burned up and going to be labeled as somewhere we will not be stepping foot in. But we'll have, everywhere else. And then we're going to, of course, have the heathen as a part of our inheritance. And what does that mean? As in, we're going to be ruling over them. It says, Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron. Thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. And another one talks about, another one that heathens really hate. They removed this one from the Slave Bible, so it shows you they know who it's talking about. Revelation 13:10, it says, He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here's the patience and the faith of the saints. Now you say, oh, what are you guys doing? Well, aren't you gonna have to be led back into captivity? No, because he did that, so we're gonna have to get back, all right, through the Lord, all right, because he did that, it has to be done unto him, okay? And no, that doesn't mean it's gonna be an endless cycle of everybody getting their lick back. No. They did it in a completely unjust way. Yeah, you're right. Israel did have captives and heathens, and some of the Israel was even take captives by Israel. But there was a specific set of there's rules in place in order to do it in a way that was deemed as permissible. Okay, of course it wasn't a ideal situation, but there was rules. Okay, Esau doesn't have any rules. All right, so they started doing sick shit. All right, there's a whole, if you have a Hebrew servant, I believe it was 7 years, you shall keep him. If thou take a Hebrew servant, okay, if this is Exodus 21:2, it says, we'll start from 1. It says, now these are the judgments which thou shalt set before them. If thou buy an Hebrew servant, 6 years shall he serve, and in the 7th he shall go out free for nothing, because that's a completion. 7 is completion. If he came in by himself, he shall go out by himself. If he were married, then his wife shall go out with him. And continuing on, there's a set diagram of rules. Esau didn't have rules. They got Jake, and they said, we should stick stuff in their butt. All right? What type of sick person thinks that? All right? They said, we should feed the little babies. We should feed them to alligators and crocodiles. That's what we should do. We should do that. We should we should scalp them, and then not just scalp. We should buzz their head and make couches out of their hair. We could take their teeth and make them into different things. We can use them for dentures, and we should those two are married, but we should go and rape his wife. That's all the sick shit, man. I implore you, I implore you. It's a free thing. Go and look up Jim Crow. It's already here because I check it out from time to time. I'm a big fan of like the virtual tours. There's a whole bunch of them. Matter of fact, somewhere in my bookmarks, I got a whole bunch of virtual tours. You can look up 360 virtual tours, right? 360 virtual tours. All right, and you can go and look up that, and they'll give you different ones. And you can go and look at museum. All right. Sometimes I look at these on Sabbath. Because, you know, here's one that I've looked at before. I didn't complete it. But, you know, 360 virtual tour of, you know, the American Revolutionary War Museum or whatever. There's a way to get to it. You can go 360 tour, virtual. There's a way to do it. There's a Black Founders tour. All right. You can go and look this up. But enter tour. All right. And then it'll give you like it should give you a whole, you'll see it pop up. All right. You hit enter and it'll take you in there. But I'll show you through here. Same thing. You just go in a self-guided tour. So you look for virtual tour platform. Click that and it should. Yep. So it'll bring up the Jim Crow Museum. To show you how out of control Esau got, just walk through this museum. All right. And it's just, you can do this on your phone too. If you have a desktop, it's better, especially one with a mouse. If you have not like a little trackpad, you know, a little touchpad, it's better if you just have a regular mouse. But you can also use WASD, I believe, on your keyboard, you know, like, or the arrow keys on your keyboard as well, if you have those. But WASD, like you would in a video game. But you can go here and just look, and they're going to have stuff about Africa, so you can just ignore that, because, of course, that's dealing with Ham. But you can go in here and just look at the type of things that they made, you know, like, this is like something fun for them, right? It's like a little fun little thing that they've made here. You can look at all the little artifacts that they've made, little statues, because when they were able to get a hold of us, it was fun for them. All right, it was like a joyful thing for them. Okay, so they made all of like trinkets and baubles, and like here's one. You know, all these different things. Oh, Jake has big lips and different little things, right? You see all these little racist postcards and stuff, and they had lynching postcards too. I don't know if they show them in here. I'm sure they do, but bear with me. Let it load. I just want to get to this next section. I guess it's not going to load, but that's fine. You know, that's more for you to go and view. Like I said, I implore you to go and check it out. All right. And all these little things, you can click on them. Let me show you. You can go and say you see something that's interesting. Let me go down this hallway. Okay. This is the last little piece I want to show. There's more. You can see, look, they're little, you know, alligator and Jake walking the plank, you know, little funny hee ha-has, right? Like Negro woman has an 8 baby. You have this, look, it's a woman with her 2 children, ha ha ha, right? Little monkeys and whatever, ha ha ha. So they had to have the sign, attention Negroes, throwing peanuts at white people in this theater will not be tolerated. You know, you see all these different little things, right? All these different things. All these racist little characterizations, you know, that they have. And you can look into them. Like, you can go, they don't have one behind, but they have more images here. But, you know, you can look and go and, you know, see what they have. All right. Different things. And if you miss something, you can go back a step. All right. 3 Jake boys, you know, eating some watermelon, hee hee hee, ha ha ho. You know, model of a slave ship, hee hee hee, ha ha ho. Look, Jake's hanging off a tree like a monkey, hee hee ha, ho ho ho. You know, that's the things that they find funny. All right, it's funny to them. But you can go and click on the little things here, right? And it'll bring up.
Jim Crow Museum. David Pilgrim bought his first racist.
You know, if you go through here and you actually read everything and you look at every single one of these and collecting his activism, you go and read through these and watch these videos, you'll get several hours out of it. I've never even clicked all through every single one of them and done it. All right, you can go through this time and time again. All right, and get good information out of it. And again, some shit's gonna be African shit, so just throw that away. But yeah, man, you know, you can go here. I haven't even looked through every single thing. You know, apparently they have a Holy Bible Black Heritage Edition. I don't even know what that is. Holy Bible Black Heritage Edition. What is that? reconnect with the historic struggles of their ancestors, realize their passion. Huh. The African heritage. Interesting. I might have to look into it, just see what it's about. I've never really read it. But yeah, man, so, see, learning things, and I've been through this museum before, not in real life. I'd like to go in real life, but it's just too far. Song of Solomon, look at that. My Soul's Rested. I guess some of these are like spiritual books. Black Preacher in America, you know. I'm sure they got, you know, a whole bunch of books in here that, you know, black dealing with black struggles, like Green's Negro's Motorist book. All right, I'm sure they have a whole bunch of stuff here, but you can look. It says, what is home without mother? Something painkiller. You know, all these different things. You can just go and look and just see how Esau went. All right, they completely went, you know, head over heels, lost their minds when they were able to get a hold of us. But anyway, this really turned into something different. We're really dealing with military being stretched thin or politicized. But I mean, we pretty much already got it. All right, we pretty much already got it. But it's stretched thin. And, you know, you see right now all the things going with Trump. You can just type in Trump, Greenland. All right. Yeah, Trump, Germany. You know, Germany pledges increased Greenland role as Trump derides its defenses. Germany plans NATO mission to protect Greenland. You know, all these, Iran's regime in its final days and weeks after mass protesters. You know, over here you got lawmakers meet Danish officials to rebuke Trump's Greenland grab. All these different things going on, really. And that's the EU. That's all part of the EU. And that goes back to Revelation 17:16. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. So NATO, you know, or the EU, the 10 horns. The 10 horns is made up of EU. You can go and I can go and show you the all right, the 10 horns, all right, represent the common market or the European Economic Community, the EEC, established in 1958. Today, the EEC is known as the EU, the European Union, and it's made up of Belgium, Denmark, all right, France, Italy, Luxembourg, Netherlands, all right, Greece, Ireland, England, and West Germany. And then you have all of NATO. NATO is actually more than this. I don't know when this was created. It's been around for quite some time, but I think Sweden and Finland have since joined. I think those are the only two that have joined since this was made, perhaps, maybe. But yeah, you can go and pause this and look at this. You see the sign a lot. It's a sign, you know, of course, by GMS. If you want the truth, you get it from GMS, all right? Or people that are teaching the same as GMS, all right, which are few and far in between these days. So they're out here. We're out here. All right. The people that teach like GMS, you know, and learning from GMS. But a lot of people are just, you know, losing their mind. It's because they're not part of the elect, and they're really, their mind's in the wrong place, and they're just dealing falsely. They're just false prophets. So Revelation 17:16, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, we just showed you, these shall hate the whore. The whore was who was on top? Let's go back. Who was on top? Who was the whore? The great whore, America, Babylon the Great. All right, America, according to the United States of America, right? So, these shall hate the whore and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. So, there, you know, all of America's allies are going to be diminished, and you know they're going to turn their back on America. All right, because right now this fucking Nero 47 man, he's burning bridges, as they say. He's burning bridges, and he's looking to start a war, man, multiple wars, and he's going to get it. He's gonna get it. All right. If you go looking for trouble, you'll find it, as they say. And he's gonna find it. He's going to burn some bridges. Well, he's already burned a few, and it's gonna get to the point where all these guys are gonna say "fuck you," and they're gonna make them, like it says, shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. They're gonna start launching, you know, well, they're our allies, and that's the one thing that always made America strong was our allies, our allies, our allies. Everyone's like, oh, we're allies with Germany. We're allies with this. We're allies with. Not anymore. You're not. Not anymore, you're not. All these ties are diminishing, all right? You used to be allies with Canada. They fucking hate your guts. You used to be allies with England. They hate your guts. You used to be allies with Germany. They're starting to hate your guts, all right? All these places, Greenland, Denmark, they hate your guts now, all right? So you're not going to have, when Russia starts doing some shit, when Iran starts doing some shit, when North Korea starts doing some shit, when China starts doing some shit, you ain't going to have no allies to bail you out. They say, fuck you, right? Weren't you came over here and you annexed Greenland. Fuck you. All right. See what you can do then. Do it by yourself. And then they're all gonna join in. And when all of a sudden you have all these world powers like Russia and Iran and Iraq, all right, and Venezuela, all right, and North Korea and China, all these places grouping up, France and Italy and Germany and all these other places in Mexico, they're gonna say, oh no, fuck you. Nope. Well, Mexico's never been an ally, but they're all gonna say, fuck you, we're turning again. We're with these guys. We're with these guys. We're not gonna. Here it is. If you're Jake Paul, all right, or Logan Paul, whichever one. I think it's Jake Paul. If you're Jake Paul and you're getting your ass beat up by Muhammad Ali and Mayweather and John Frazier, all right, and a whole bunch of other guys, and you think I'm gonna side with you and get my ass beat? No, hell no, hell no. And here it is. You say, oh, you motherfucker, you're a pussy. You wouldn't be able to fight these guys anyway. Fuck you. You'd never be able to fight. Here I was friends with you, right, with Jake Paul, right? And he said, fuck you. You'd never be able to fight these guys anyway. I can do it. I'll take it on myself. Fuck you. You can't do shit. I'm the one who carries this. And all these guys are saying, fuck, this guy's a fucking asshole. This guy's a proud asshole. He just likes beating up everybody. You think I'm going to join with that guy even if I was your ally? I'm going to say, no, fuck you, man. Fuck you. I'm not going to help you. Get your ass beat by Joe Frazier. I think I said John Frazier. Joe Frazier. All right, get your ass beat like Mike with Mike Tyson. Get your ass beat by Muhammad Ali. I want to be over here with these guys. Matter of fact, I might just beat your ass. I might join in with them. Right? And that's what's eventually going to happen because they're sick of being shit on. All right, because that's what America does. They shit on them. Here it is, all these different things with the wars. And America, I did it. It was all me. You don't give credit to your ally. No, it was us. We did it. You wouldn't be able to do it. America, we're the great. America, fuck yeah, we're the best. No, you're not. You're not. Okay? And that's why you couldn't consider Vietnam as a war. You had to consider it as a military conflict. Because if you considered it as a war, that would have been a war you lost. All right? But America, we've never lost a war. That's because all the wars that you've lost, you didn't consider as wars. You consider, oh, that was just a global conflict, military conflict. You know, that was a little skirmish. That wasn't a war. It was a war. All right? It was a war. All right? And you lost it. You lost it. All right. And that's why you don't consider it a war. And, you know, that's why they're so desperate on, running military ads right now. And they're doing, they got people, I've seen it on Instagram. Like, hey, man, you should join the military. They got recruiters in the YouTube and Instagram comments. We'll pay you good. Right. They're hurting bad. They're hurting bad. I read an article about this lady that wanted to see how she was ex-military and she wanted to see how easy it is to join up with ICE. She didn't really want to join up with ICE because she's, Democrat and against all of it, right? But she wanted to see how easy it would actually be. And they said they sent her for a drug test. And before her drug test even came back, before her medical exam even came back, they said, oh, you're going to have to go through a drug test, medical exam, background check, and a bunch. She said before they even got it, she already had a thing that said, congratulations, you've been accepted. It was in New York. You'll be doing your first day of training on this day. And before any of the other shit even cleared. All right. And she said that it was a venue for about 1,500 people. She said maybe 150 people max that were there. She said they sat you down and they make you watch a video and they, brief you on, what you'll be seeing if you do join, if they do accept you. And she said there was like a handful of people. All right. And that's it. So it's stretched thin, man. It's stretched thin. But they do have a couple people that are devoted to, a couple Edomites that are really devoted to their cause and willing to die for it. All right. A lot of these guys, a lot of ICE now is ex-Proud Boys. All right. KKK, Ku Klux Klan members. They just joined up. That's why you don't see much Proud Boys or Ku Klux Klan because they've all joined up with ICE. But yeah, even the military, man, they're stretched thin. They're accepting they, thems, and they that's and zers and zims and anybody, man. They're accepting more women. All right, they're desperate. They're taking anybody they can get because a lot of people are completely opposed to their regime now. All right, and that shows you, that goes back into number 5, goes back into institution losing their legitimacy. Nobody wants to. All these really go back to institutions losing their legitimacy. Nobody wants to be on the side of the losers. Okay, and nobody wants to, unless you're just die. I live, breathe, and bleed red, white, and blue, brother. And there are some guys like that. But Esau, they're proud. They think they can make it, and they're just not gonna make it. They're not. And they're being revealed. Okay, it says 2 Thessalonians 2:3. It says, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. All right, who opposeth and exalt himself above all that is called God or power, or that is worship. So he that as So that he as power, or as Yahweh, because he wants to be as Yahweh, sitting in the temple of Yahweh, showing himself that he is Yahweh. He wants, I'm God, right? I'm God. That's what he thinks. All right, Esau thinks he's God. All right, and with this, it really shows you they become, again, like it says, it's become politicized. All right, and it has become politicized. They made the military and all this is just all political, and that goes back to number 3. All right, which is economic, not 3, but 2, political paralysis and constant infighting. You know, the Democrat against the Republican. All right, the North against the South. All right, it's all the same shit. It's gonna be a civil war again, man. All right, and that's what they're doing. They're losing it, man. They're losing it. Ultimately, they're losing it. Okay, how long have we been going for? 50 minutes. They're losing it. So that's where we're going to really close out with. But yeah, they're losing it. We didn't really talk too much about the military, but I mean, anybody can see. We talked a little bit about it, but and how it's been stretched thin or politicized. It's just, it's bad, man. This place is, it's on its way out. You can tell it's on its last leg. All right, America's on its last leg. I think it's Apostle Gabar that always says that. Apostles always talk about it, and all the beloved members of GMS, of course, and those that are teaching and preaching in sincerity in the same fashion as GMS, which is the same. You know, why are you all teaching of GMS? Because the teaching style of GMS is the teaching style of the Bible. Okay, they just teach out of the Bible. They don't go and they also, you know, use the Blue Letter Bible, because in order to understand the mystery, you got to understand the history, and you also got to understand the language and literature. All right, that's the big part of, if you see Christians, they don't understand words. All right, they'll be tossed up again. Oh, so he can graft them in again. They graft them in again. Well, what does again mean? They don't understand that because they don't look up definitions. It means another time, once more. All right, so, but yeah, man. So a little bit of a rambly lesson, Salakia, but Lord willing, there was some edifying that went out. You know, it just happened to be that we went other places with it, really just talking about Esau and their how they are as a people. All right, but you know, that's how they are. They're it's just their hatred, and really going that tying that back all in. You know, dealing with they had a perpetual hatred. Perpetual means never ending or unchanging. You can look that up. All right, you can go and type in define perpetual. I spelled that wrong, but it'll correct it. Perpetual, never ending or changing. Okay, so never ending or changing, occurring repeatedly, so frequent as to seem endless or uninterrupted. It's not so frequent as if to seem. It is endless. It's uninterrupted. They've stayed like that. All right, through the reincarnation, over and over and over and over and over again. All right, and reincarnation is a biblical topic that the elect will understand. If you ain't got it, if you can't get it, then maybe you're not of the elect, because the elect are gonna get that. They're gonna understand it. So, or you're new and you just haven't had it yet. I won't say that necessarily. If you're new, you have a little bit of of leniency. If you're new, you haven't, you know, got the understanding of it yet. But if you're in here, no, not really, you're probably not of the elect. All right, so you might as well just move on. But yeah, man. So with that, you know, the military, a lot of people are just joining up for hatred. All right, they just want to kill brown people. That's what people love to do. Same thing with ICE. All right, and ICE is really, it's likened unto a military. Now, what is military? All right, that's where we'll end this out. What is military defined? All right, military, relating the characteristics of soldiers or armed forces. Defense, warrior, armed, soldierly. All right, armed forces. So they're armed. They're militia. All right, forces. They're, you know, is that not what they are? Are they not armed? Are they not warriors in a sense? Are they being warriors for Esau? All right, or warriors for Daddy Trump? That's what they're doing. So essentially, they're a military. They're not a sanctioned military, but they're essentially a military. They're likened to a military, mercenary, you know, thuggish, terroristic force. That's what they are. All right, and they become politicized. All right, they become stretched thin. There's few and far in between. So that's where we're going to close out, right? Lord, what was edifying. Again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakak. I want to say shalom to you brothers and sisters out there. Keep enduring, keep the faith. We're almost out of here. Until the next one, Lord willing, shalom.